Hey there, Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today I thought we'd work in Meine Reise durch Afrika. So this is a project book. We're going to do every page in this book. Now, I missed the Valentine's Day opportunity to do this page, but I thought we would make this into a Mylar balloon, and technically it's still February, so why not? So today we're going to use Polychromos colored pencils, and I am going to be using just a variety of reds and a little bit of like, what is this, red, violet, and magenta type of colors. And we're going to color this up like it's a Mylar balloon. So let's get started. Now, I do want to say that I watched the video How to Paint a Realistic Foil Balloon painting tutorial by Painting with Paint Basket, and I will drop a link in the description box. So they're using acrylic paints, it looks like, or maybe a gouache. I wasn't, I'm impatient, so I kind of skipped ahead through the video because I was more interested in the thought process behind the shadows and the lines than I was in how he was mixing colors and that kind of stuff, because I'm going to be using colored pencils. So I did want to give a shout out though, because I thought his video was well done, and even though I didn't really put my shadows in the same place, I did learn a lot of like some different thoughts on the lines around the balloon and that kind of stuff. So I think it's worth a watch. So I'll drop it down in the description box below. So if you're not interested in doing this technique, I would suggest just maybe either color it using the colors that I'm coloring, or just go in and color it yourself. It's a pretty straightforward, what is this called, like filigree maybe, or something like that. But I am not going to be really coloring the design. I'm going to go with more of the technique of the Mylar balloon, and the pattern will just be an imprint on it when we're done. So let's get started. A couple of things I want to point out. I'm going to be using these colors here from 22 to 29. And I've decided to use this light red violet and this magenta, or not light red violet, this one, the red violet, and possibly the magenta as an underpainting, because I want the dark red to be a little darker. Now, I personally don't want to use black, and so I experimented essentially. Let me show you. Okay, to begin with, I'm going to be using light flesh beige red all the way up to this dark red. So all of these different colors here. But then I want something a little darker than our dark red. So here's our dark red. So this is our dark red. Now, if you do an underpainting, you can use something like mauve. You can use something like red violet, or even burnt carmine. Now let's go over our dark red with dark red over the top. So you can see that this one's a lot more in your face about the darkness. So like we have darkest, medium, and light. Now this one's definitely going to give you a lot more purple undertones when you blend it out. See how that you really see like the blue undertones there? Whereas these two you don't. you don't really get that because those are more red based. Now, this works really good if you need a really deep undertone. So what I could do is in my darkest areas, let's say I have a dark spot like this. I could go in with that magenta right there alongside of it, right? And then go in with my dark red and get a little bit more of a transition, right? And then when I blend it out, it's not quite as stark. We could even go in with, that was the mauve. We could try a lighter one like this blue violet. But I like the look of this. But I'm probably going to lean more into this red violet because it's a little more subtle. And then we can decide if we need to add more at the end. So I'll see. You know, when I color, it's very much like what I feel in the moment. Okay? So let's get started. Disclaimer. I've never done a Mylar balloon before. So I hope this isn't a hot mess in our book. It could be. I think it's going to turn out fine. I did kind of scribble on paper and see what I thought. And I got a decent rendition. So we're going to go with it. All right, let's go. Okay, guys, here goes nothing. Taking our red violet, but basically Mylar balloons have like this piece here around the edge where the two pieces of Mylar are kind of seamed together. So that's what we're going to do here. And I am going to just really lightly at first. It doesn't really matter if they're kind of squiggly. That's probably best, right? And it doesn't matter if they're completely, you know, if they go a little closer, they're flat, I mean, you want them to be a little bit different, right? Now here, I'm going to take and extend a piece down like this. This is going to be like the balloon piece, right? So we'll, but we're going to make almost like a scallopy kind of edge. Okay? Now this piece is going to be pretty dark. So I'm going to go along and once again just kind of creating a little bit of space here. We're going to color this part in a little bit darker. So like where I went out a little too far, I'm going to come in a little bit. There's no right or right way. No right or right. So when I was Googling, trying to find like a Mylar balloon that I liked, there were so many different ones, and they were all kind of shaped a little bit different. Not shaped, but like they had their highlights and their shadows and that kind of stuff, even in true like Mylar balloons. Because the one I'm looking at is actually a Mylar balloon. Okay? And we're going to do like a little, like where you would tie it off, right? We're going to give it a little bit of crinkles here. And I'm just using my reference to get an idea of where we need some shadows, right? So the balloon kind of crinkles up a little bit. And we're going to be adding the darker lines here with our darker colors. Now these are the main dark shadows. As I go around, so now I'm going to kind of curve it down this way. But this one is going to curve more this way. And this one's going to come out like this, and then this one's down, and then this one kind of comes out this way, right? So we're just following kind of the shape of the balloon, right? These all kind of curve this way, and then they'll straighten out a little bit as we get here. Okay? Now you want to go light because you can always decide to go darker, but it's hard to go lighter. But I am going to start filling in our little piece here. Now I'm not too worried if I have a little bit showing. What I don't want though is a pattern. Like if I leave a blank spot, that red's going to go in, right? Because I'm going to be covering this with our dark red. But I want this piece to be darker because this is where it kind of folds on itself, right? To make the seam. So that's what I'm doing here, is kind of creating that seam. But I'm not killing myself to make sure it's perfect, but I'm using a light pressure. We can always add, can't subtract. Because if I go in and I realize, like, oh, I made it go the wrong direction, right? Like this curve should be more this way or that way. If I haven't bared down on that, apologies for the phone. Let me shut that off. Okay, that is my son. I always love hearing from my boys. His birthday is Monday, and he is going to be 32. This is my younger son. He's in Seattle, so sadly we won't be together, which is such a bummer. I really wish we could be together. Okay, now that we have kind of the construct of our balloon here, let's add a little shading here. Okay, next I want to block in where my highlights are going to be. So my highlight's going to be kind of like here. And we'll do kind of one. Now your highlights are going to be pretty white. So we definitely want to block them out so that we don't color anything over them. And this is a relatively big highlight here. I chose this image for a reason. I kind of like how these highlights are. Now here we have some subtler highlights. So I'm just going to very, very lightly block these in because these aren't going to be white. They're going to be lighter. Okay? And then I personally kind of like the look of a little bit of shading. The Mylar balloons, where I felt like they looked kind of realistic, had like kind of a dark piece here. I'm just roughing things in, so you're probably thinking, wow, what a hot mess. And it is right now. But have the faith, people. Have the faith. Now I want to leave a little gap here between this really light and this really more dark, right? because I'm gonna definitely be putting light in here. Now this piece down here, I want to be pretty dark. I'm gonna put a little bit of dark there. This piece right here, we're gonna have a little light piece here. So keep that a little lighter. But just kind of forming the shape, right? Kind of keeping with where the filigree kind of ends. We'll have one here, but it's going to be a lot more subtle. Won't be quite as dark as these ones on the side. Okay. But I definitely want to keep this piece right here. So here's our white square, and then this piece is going to be lighter. This is going to be like a gradient going from dark to light. Okay, we're going to keep this piece a little bit on the lighter side right here. Okay, hopefully this is going to make more sense as we go along. A little bit dark. You know how you kind of dark, you do like shading on the edges to make something look round? Well, that's kind of what I'm doing here. This is very light though. This is quite a bit darker. Okay, this side. All right, so we've got our basic block in, okay? Now I'm going to go in with, what is this? Rose Carmine. So it's not the very light, I almost think this might be, well, let's do it. Let's get a nice blend here. Okay, so right here, right next to the white, I am now gonna erase a little bit of that dark that I put right there, because I want this to be real light. So my little, erase your little, you know, that little, what would that be, a trapezoid? I don't know. Pentagram, it's got 5 sides. But I'm going to go in with the light, right? And then we're going to blend it out. Same with this one. So I'm going to erase these a little bit. Should I have just put these in peach? Yeah, probably. But it's okay. Okay. And then here, right? We're going to put a little bit there. That kind of helps me see where my highlights are. Okay, next I'm going to come in with, I think it's pink carmine. No, it's rose carmine. I don't know why I have pink and rose crossed out. We just want to blend out into our red, right? So I'm just going over this a little bit. Okay. Now the main color is going to be like alizarin crimson. Okay, but so the main color is going to be that alizarin crimson, but I'm going to go over all of this red violet, right, with my dark red. Now this is where you want to make sure you cover all of that, or otherwise your color's going to be more on the purple side, which is fine, not a bad thing, just a different thing. So it's really what you want it to look like. So at this point, I am paying a little more attention to making like the curve correctly. Making the curve correct. Is that what I'm trying to say? This is going to be something where we're going to layer quite a bit. And so we don't want to freak out that we're doing it wrong, right? Because we're going to add lots of layers to get the look we're looking for. Now we're going to make these a lot more dark, right, than they are right now. But I'm really going for just defining them, covering over that red violet with our dark red. You can make your little scallops smaller if you want. They don't have to come out quite as far from the balloon or from the design, or they can go farther, right? You could have the design a lot more centered, right? Turn your book. I'm not, but you should. Turn your book to get your best hand angle, always. Okay, now with this dark red, I am going to start laying in color here. Do a light layer, right? Holding my pencil back way far so that I can be very light, because I'm not a light-handed person. And speaking of that, should I have another piece of paper underneath? Yeah, I should. That way, because what happens is if you push too hard, this ink will get on this page. So even though I'm not using a blending, you know, a bleeding kind of medium, you know, you should do that. Okay, and then I'm going to blend out a little bit down here, right? and a little bit up here. Once again, we can always modify our layers. Make them darker, make them lighter, whatever. Okay? All right, next up, we're going to go in with our alizarin crimson. Where is that one? All these pens look alike. Okay. Okay. Now with this, we're going to blend out to our next layer, right? All the way up here. Now, I'm going to keep this a little bit lighter, so I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. Same with here. I'm going to leave this to blend with the next lightest color. But I'm going to go over what we've colored. Now, this piece right here is going to be pretty light up until this dark piece. And then this actually, I think, should be colored in. Probably with our darker tone, but we'll see. Okay. All right. Let's go in with pink carmine. Oh, I see. I was using rose carmine earlier. Now I'm going to use pink carmine. Oh, Wendy, can you tell I don't use, I don't use Polychromos as much. Carmine, where's pink carmine? Okay, this one's pink carmine. So this is the one I'm going to go here. I'm going to go over everything. Leaving this little piece white, right? Because the idea is this is like a hole to tie the balloon. Okay. Light layer. Probably going to go over this one with a darker color, but I want the light there underneath. Polychromos are a layering pencil, so they're pretty translucent. So if I put this light color on and then I color over it with a darker color, the light still kind of pops through. I'm still at kind of the blocking stage, right? We haven't really gotten to defining or anything. Nothing that we can't fix. So here, kind of coloring over everything. Nice and light. Because I still want to come in with a little bit lighter there color. But coloring over all of this. Just making light layers. Once again, turn your book. Get it upside down, whatever you need to do. I just don't do it because I only do it when I absolutely have to, when I'm filming, just because I think it's, as the viewer, it's easier to see it this way than having it flip-flopped. Sometimes I just have to do it. Okay. Okay. My pencil is labeled Salmon, but it used to be called Dark Flesh. So, whichever one you have, I'm going to go over this area here. Right? I was a little too dark with this line. And we may have to erase. We'll see once we get all of the layers in. Okay. And I'm going to color this piece right here. That's kind of lighter. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with Rose Carmine. Okay. And just blend. Blend it out a little. If you're new to my channel, I am an impatient colorist, so you will often see just a little more slapdashery than you might see on some channels. I am trying to embrace it. Right? Okay, so now we need to darken up everything and blend. We want kind of a stark line between this dark. So we're going to start with our darkest, which is the dark red. I'm going to go over this again, blending out this way, but not this way. We're going to do lots of layers. And I am going to use some blending medium. So if you have some Gamsol, some Zest-It, something like that, that'd be great. Okay? So go ahead and get that out. I'm not using a hard pressure, but I'm not just gliding over the page either. Right? I'm just using what I would call a medium light pressure. So I want to define how light this is by making this darker. Okay. I am going to bring this up. Now at this point, I am doing a lighter pressure even than I was just a second ago. Because this piece we want to blend a little more gradient-like, right? I'm creating a little darkness here. Going over our scallops, not into our lighter color there. Just the little, our shadow, right? Which will deepen. Sharpen your pencil. I know it's tempting for me because the pencil actually feels kind of good when it's not sharpened, but you'll get better results with a sharpened pencil because it'll get into the grooves and leave little less white dots. Okay, let's do this side. Okay, next up is permanent carmine. Once again, just trying to make our transition here. We're going over all of the dark too. With Polychromos, you don't have to worry too much. With some colored pencils, if you take your light and go over your dark, it can really affect it and make it look very light. Polychromos are very translucent to where you don't have that problem. See how it's just adding a really nice blend there now. I'm going all the way over into covering up those light areas because I really don't want that peach. It's almost a peach, isn't it? That the beige red or the light flesh, whichever. So we want to cover all of that up, but because we're going over it, because it's down though, it really makes a lighter look. You just don't want to push this color too far in and create a new color there. See how much lighter that is there? Okay. And then with the salmon, I'm going to extend this up just a little bit. See, it doesn't look as good as if you put it down before. This side, not as much, just a little bit. Okay. Right here on the edge, I'm going to make this a little bit lighter with this light salmon. Just lightly blending it out. I am not burnishing. Okay? It's just each layer is going to go over it and fill in more white dots. More of the tooth of the paper, right? Now, as we come here, I want this to just be a little like on the edge. So I'm going to take that permanent crimson or permanent carmine. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. Right? Don't want quite as much highlight here. And then here, this piece, we're going to have like a white piece right here. But until then, I think I'm going to bring this up here. But make sure to leave that little white piece. See this? See the V right there? We will emphasize that here in a bit. But up here at the top and all the way over here, this is going to be a little bit darker. By darker, I mean not that salmon. And then here, we're going to come back in again with the salmon. Does that make sense because of where the light is? Okay, before I go any further, I am going to put in, I'm going to try and block in the white, right? Now I'm probably going to use a little bit of acrylic marker here or Posca when I'm done. But for now, I want a little bit of a white edge right here. I want to blend this a little bit. This side I'm going more for a blend. This side I want more of a white. I don't know, starker white, more contrast, okay? And then here, this will be more contrasty, okay? And then this we're gonna blend out too. Now I'm just showing you my interpretation. Like I said, I watched the video, I got kind of a general idea of what they did with the paint, and then mainly I'm just trying to replicate a reference. Whether or not we can pull that off, we have yet to see. Okay, this piece, I want it darker. So I am going to take my mauve. Hold on, I didn't pull that card. Okay, and where I want the darkest part, like here, I am doing this very lightly because I want to be able to go over it again with the red, okay? But right up next to that light, to make that light look even lighter, I want to put in this dark. Okay, and I'm going to follow it up this line, blending out as I go this way. So not pressing hard at all, but even lighter as I come back in to the balloon. Okay. And I want to stop about right here with this ultra, what I call more ultra dark, right? Blend up just a little. This is like kissing the paper. See how far back I am? And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. A little bit lighter. Nice and light here. A little bit darker here. Ever so lightly here. And just a hint. Like that. Okay? Alright, now back in with our dark red. Okay. I'm going to go over all of that mauve with red. Now, if you don't like the looks of this, because it does change it to a more purpley red kind of tone, then use that, the red violet, and just do it again. That is certainly an option, and it will make it less like this color, this purpley red, and more red. Kind of a medium light pressure. I'm not as light as I was with the purple, but I'm definitely not burnishing either. That's the great thing about Polychromos, is the ability to layer and layer and layer. Much lighter here in the center, right? See how I really was concentrating on one side? You should probably rotate pencil. What do you think? Are we pulling it off at all? I want to put just a little bit here and ever so lightly there. Nice light layer. Okay. Now, alizarin crimson, we are going to kind of go over this, not over our little white spot there. See that little white line? I want to keep that. But I am blending this, the rest of this, up into that darker. Light layers. Sorry, I forget to talk. You know, that's the best part of this hobby, right? Is that place where you go where you forget to talk and you forget to think about the bills and the kids and how you're going to pay for braces and your health and your parents and just everything, right? You just kind of forgot everything but what you're doing. That is the gift of coloring. Medium light pressure. Okay. How are we doing? Are you guys having a little more faith now? Do you think it looks terrible? Okay, we haven't gotten to the magic yet. Okay, at this point I'm going to use Zest It, but you can use Gamsol, Eco House, whatever you want, right? But I'm going to go in And I want to blend to where we don't have all of the white, the little white dots, right? Now you can use a tortilla, you can use a paintbrush, you can use a blender pencil, you can, whatever you would like to blend out. I want to do this before I go on to the next step where I add the lines in the balloon. Right, like the little folds and creases. So I'll be back, okay? Okay, guys, I am back. So next we're going to go in with a little cold gray 6, and I'm going to go over the edges here and just darken these up a little bit. I opted not to do the mauve. I just feel like it'll add a little too much purple tones. And I really don't want the black. I think it'll be too stark. So we're going to compromise with cold gray 6, right? Now feel free to make little ridges like this on your edges. See how that just adds a little bit of we don't want it too much, kind of subtle, but just it makes it look a little more crinkly. And I think a little more realistic. So like baby scallops on your bigger scallops. And don't be afraid to make them a little different, right? So like this side, I'm not going to do quite as much like little nobules, okay, on this edge. And then as I get down here, I will. Does that make sense? Hope so. And that's just simply because that's how my reference photo is. Right? Because unless you have a Mylar balloon, which if you do, that would be the ultimate, right? And if you think you need one, put one in. Okay? Once again, I'm going to kind of define our little crinkles here. Okay? All right. Now here's where we're going to start making, remember when we put our shadows in? Well, we've kind of covered them over. So we want to put those back in again. Okay? This one's going to go kind of deep. And we're going to add other little crinkle marks, right? Okay. Okay, so my bigger ones, I kind of want to emphasize just a little bit more. So I'm going to bring them out with black. Just so they stand out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take my white and go right beside it. Now this is a Prisma white. Can you tell? Okay, I was pressing kind of hard, but still. can't find my little floofer. Do you ever lose stuff in your office and you know that it's there, but you don't know where? And it's not like I take it anywhere. Okay, and I'm emphasizing the white again on the edges here. Not quite as much on this side, but definitely a lot here. Okay, and then I'm going to color, wipe your pencil off. We're going to color this all white. And I am kind of burnishing. Kind of smoothing the edges there. Now, I think a little highlights add a lot. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go in with my dark red. And just kind of darken up my deepest shadows, right? Should I have done this probably before we put the white marks in? Yeah. Just pay attention to where they are. I'll try and make a note when I'm editing to warn you to do it first. And you don't have to. Okay. What is this one? Pink Carmine. Didn't feel like we had a good blend there. There we go. A little better. This is the point where you're kind of burnishing everything out. Smoothing it, making it look right. We can go in with a little lighter one, maybe the rose carmine, right up here. Okay, and we'll go over this with our light flesh. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try this and see if it's dark enough. I'm not sure, but we want to put these are going to be a lot more subtle here. But see how that you can see them there? Okay, we're just putting in our lines. A lot of these are going to be very subtle because they're on that, it's essentially the same color. But we want that because it's not like we want these to jump out into our face. But we want to see them, little ones here. Okay. Just blend in that just a little more. Okay. Rose carmine is what I have. Okay, I want the center of this. See how pink this is? Well, I'm going to use an eraser here in a minute. I want the center of this to be whiter. So I'm just laying it down and then just spreading it with my finger. right? Because I want the center to be a little more white. And I want the filigree or whatever to be a little more subtle too. Okay? Okay, I am going to go in and just, I feel like I maybe blended this out too much, and I need a little bit of a subtler transition here. So on both of these, just a little bit of the salmon. Okay. Now, I think this is looking good. I can live with it. A little bit of dark red here. So, getting our pasta again, I just want to add just a little bit of white. This I want to be more subtle, so I'm going to kind of blot it out a little. Just here in the center. Kind of blend this white just a touch, so it's not quite as stark. Seems just a little too bright, right? Okay, now we're going to go in with our 10%, and starting about here, we are going to subtly make a little bit of a shadow, right? It's hard to see. We don't want it to go all the way to the balloon, to about right here maybe. Now I did erase my smudgies. I had quite a bit of smudgies. You know, because see how I put my hand in there? Ideally you should have another piece of paper or glassine. Would work well. But you just want to create a little bit of a cast shadow here. So, or is this a cast shadow? Drop shadow? I don't know my shadows. Okay. So we're going to drop it in with this color. And then I'm going to go in with the next one. So what is that, Cold Gray 2? Okay. Now Cold Gray 2, we're going to do this outside part. Okay. And then blend it out a little bit. And then we'll take our white. How many times are you going to do that, Wendy? I do this all the time. I forget to wipe my Prisma white. You can do the same thing with your eraser if you have color on your eraser. We're going to just kind of go around the edges. Okay, and then lastly, Cold Gray 3. I think it needs just a touch darker. Okay, just not all the way to the edge, but just a little bit here. Ever so lightly, like kissing the paper. Light breeze, right? And then I am going to use my Zest It. And this is where I might actually just dip it into the bottle as opposed to, I don't want to pick up any other color. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit from the lid because it really doesn't take much, right? And we're just going to blend that out just a little bit. If you do dip it in the bottle, blot it off. You don't want a lot. I think sometimes people use too much. I actually probably have a little too much as it is. But blend your darker middle first, and then bring it to the outside, and that way it'll pull any color to the edges and kind of soften your edges a little bit. Get it all blended and then let it dry. Don't panic if you can see something coming up through. Like here, it looks like something came from the other side. It really didn't. While that's drying, you can erase your smudges. This is where having that floofer would be really nice. My floofer is just a little makeup brush that I use, and I have no idea where it is. Okay, we'll let that dry. And then that will be a wrap. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you'd like even more Jazzydoodle and a little more snark, please check out the membership below. If you're looking for a community where you can share your work and chat with other fellow colorists in a safe and welcoming environment, hit the subscribe button to Jazzydoodledesigns and then look for Jazzydoodledesigns Coloring Community on Facebook. And there you can join a group of fellow colorists to talk all things coloring and share cute pet pictures. I hope to see you there, and until next time, happy coloring.